Do you read me?
Be advised, you are coming in weak and unreadable.
Say again, Com Tower. This is Pacho. Do you read me? Over.
Pacho, this is Com Tower. I read you Lima Charlie.
Com Tower, Com Tower. Request permission to launch and commence the field op. Over.
Stand by. Pacho, permission granted. Say again, permission granted.
Roger that. Yeah, what's going on, everybody? Another Friday, Baby Friday is upon us, or Friday's Eve, as I like to call it as well. You know what? All in all, goddamn, it's almost the weekend. Oh man. Anyways, we got a good, we got another great show for you today. But as we like to get started every week, let's just do all let's get all the pleasantries out of the way. Hey, this show is brought to you by Castle Global Services. At Castle Global Services, they got an array of many different things for your home, for your business. If you want to take credit cards or switch merchant services provider, we got they got a great service called Sphere at a very competitive prices. I think right now they have a promotion where you get a if we can't beat your uh, your current merchant service providers rates, you will get a $250 gift card to from Amazon or anywhere else that you desire. So at the bare minimum, go on there and check them out and get a $250 gift card. You can check them out at castleglobalservices.acnibo.com. Click is on the link is right there on the show bio. And this show is also brought to you by Primerica. Hey, you driving around in your retirement, and what do I mean by that? Well, are you buying things or cashing checks that your bank account can't pay? A lot of us we get into this mentality of buying these expensive vehicles, or buy things that are really out of pocket and get us more in debt, rather than say plan and save properly for the future. Well, at Primerica, one of the services provider can go in there, give you a financial needs analysis, and give you a blueprint and a foundation how to get out of set, how to get out of debt, how to pay all your things, and also invest and save for your future, whether that may be when you retire, kids college, want to buy a house, whatever the case may be. I highly recommend that you go on there. The link is in the show bio, on the show description, and find out. If anything, you get again, another free service, no commitment. You get a financial needs analysis. It gives you just a good foundation as to where you are financially at this time. And this show is also brought to you by the VA. So here's a message from the VA, everybody. Hey, everybody, welcome back. Well, now is the time for applying for anything under the PAC Act. I highly recommend. I just spoke to another vet this week who they finally received their PNT, the golden ticket, the permanent and total. So I highly recommend that you go on there. I mean, you're basically running to your local VSO office, whether it's your city or county VSO, Veteran Server office, or through the DAV or American Legion, Veterans of Foreign Wars. Get an advocate is the bottom line, and then go ahead and start submitting for all those things and get compensated. Because in the end, as we all know, and I like to say in this industry, in the safety industry, if it's not on paper, it's not going to happen, or it never happens. So the VA is not going to cover you for it. So, and as we get older, as I've gotten older, there are more things, issues with my joints, shoulders, and blah blah that you want to be covered for. Is the bottom line. So, anyways, in addition to the VA, hey, I always like to say that this show is also brought to you by the great Constitution, goddamn, of the United States of America. So, what does that mean, everybody? Is that hey, we believe in this show, one on the right to bear arms, as well as freedom of speech. So if you like what you're listening, then stick around. Make sure you subscribe, like, and follow. Share me to anybody else. Follow us on YouTube and all the other streaming platforms. Or if you don't like it, then that's fine. I mean, we can agree to disagree. Go ahead and check out something from sitchradio.com. They got a bunch of stuff, cool stuff like I Podcast That, the Todd DeVoe Show, and another one of my favorite shows is Combat Vet Vision with Chief Sieber, who's been on my show. Anyways, those are all the pleasantries and all the things and all our sponsors that we're gonna do. So let's get down to the real nitty gritty of our show. And by the way, if you want to go ahead and chime in and chit chat or throw your comments right there on the comments box of the show. And if you want to appear on the show, we'll even send you the link and you can come on the show and we can have a pretty good discussion about today's topic. So, anyways, sometimes these shows tend to write themselves. And I think that's great because as I'm thinking, okay, well, this is the topic for the week. What can I talk about? Well, sometime this week it's getting help when offered. So what do I mean by that is that oftentimes I'm sure everybody here has heard it, or been in the situation where somebody contacts you and it's like, dude, I'm having XYZ issues, blah blah. And again, I'm not the one to. I've learned over the years not to give unsolicited advice. Why? Because in the end, you're just the one that ends up being burnt. Oh well, you told me to do XYZ, and it always comes back on you, and you're the one who was basically fucked up for offering advice. So a while back, I just started shying away from that. I've done it with my kids who are grown adults now, and I'll even ask them during in the middle of the conversation. It's like, hey, so what position do you want me to take on here? Do you want me to help? Do you want me to give you advice, or because if you just want to vent and listen, I will do that. I'm great at that. Because sometimes you don't want to hear logic, you don't want to hear shit. You just want somebody to say, listen and say, damn, sucks that you're going through that. My wife is great at that, by the way. So, and that's fine. And, sometimes however, sometimes I just want to take your point of view on what you think about this situation. And, I'll give my point of view and how I will react. And then, along the way, people say, well, what should I do? And at that point, that's where you got to tread, kind of lightly because, if you give the wrong advice, by the way, I always throw a disclaimer. Hey, look, this is what I would do. This is how I would handle it. I'm not necessarily telling you to go forth in such manner, because in the end, situation can change and things don't plan out as you think. Things will play out. You know what I'm saying? So, because a few times, there's been several occasions where I've asked, for advice well, this is what I think you should do. Now, I'll say this straight up. I've owned every situation, good, bad, or indifferent, how it's played out, regardless of when I ask for advice. Because in the end, I mean, it's gonna fall back on you. You know what I'm saying? So, but it really chaps my ass when people ask for help and say, okay, yeah, I think this, and you, well, what can I do? How do I do it? And blah blah. And, you're putting your time and effort on people and individuals, and and then they go ahead and just do the wrong shit. And it's really frustrating when things play out that way. When I was in active duty, um, whether I was a staff NCO or even as an officer, you have these Marines, oh, sir, staff sergeant, whatever. I'm having these issues, and obviously you've been there. Maybe you've been there before, or some of your staff NCOs and people who work with you have been there. You're like trying to help this individual, and they just go ahead and turn around and do the wrong shit, or just completely go sideways, and they come back and more eh, deeper in the hole on the situation, and it's like, well, how did you think this was going to play out there, Lance Corporal Johnny? I mean, we told you not to do XYZ, or don't go out in town and go, don't, not to put Oceanside on blast, but don't go to Oceanside outside of Camp Pendleton and buy a vehicle from one of the dealerships right over there at like 26% and above APR. And, but they go ahead and do it anyways. I had a situation where I had a Marine. She had, she was one of my mechanics, good wrench turner. And after we gave her that brief, first thing she did is went and bought a freaking car over the weekend. And after I look at her paperwork, she was getting paid. This young lady was paying 26 APR, and like, dude, if you do the math, you're buying this car twice. I mean, I was, I went on the calculator. I'm like, look, let's just do some simple math over here, and oh my God, what do I do? So I went over there with my staff SEO. I mean, we didn't try to punk out the dealership, but we're trying to just say, hey, look, you guys are taking advantage of this, this individual. I think this is, she just bought it 2 days ago. Let her turn it back in, just reimburse her down payment, and just be done with it. Or we're just gonna make sure that we'll go to the base general and make sure that make this place one of those unauthorized places for Marines to visit. And I mean, granted, to some degree, myself and the mass iron, now, we're pretty much kind of pissing in the wind, trying to flex our muscle a little bit, but it worked. And she was able to turn her vehicle back in and get her money back. But had we not, try to take care of her, uh, this individual basically been buying the car twice. Um, basically paying twice for a vehicle is basically what we're trying to prevent. Case in point, when when somebody calls you, oh my God, and they give now you're devoting your time, because they got to tell you their life problem, what is that's going on, and they're like, oh, what do I do? And you're like, okay, well, it's like, well, again, you ask, well, do you need me to give you advice, or how is it, what do I think you should do? Yeah, again, if I do, again, this is just what I would do, blah blah. And but then they go ahead and turn around, and then you check back on them a few days later, and they're like, well, no, I didn't do that. I did this, and now XYZ. And you're like, dude, but we talked about it. We came up with a good plan. It sounded pretty solid, and you were on track, and blah blah blah. Why why would you even do that? What was going through, I asked her, I just don't give a shit anymore. I just say, why would you even do that? What was going through, help me understand. I'm just trying to understand. I'm not trying to get on you, but help me understand and comprehend your thought process for you to make this decision, instead of the things that made sense, and and which was a pretty good solution, or get you in that right direction. Why would you, why is it that you were going, you went on that route? And it's just like, I'm trying to understand it, and it's like, okay, whatever. And I mean, I'm more I think, as now I tend to understand older people now, as I'm aging myself, almost 50 years old this year. Half a century old. Uh, I just try to, and I'm more vocal now, and I just, I just call them on. It's like, it's like, why would you, whatever. And it's like, I mean, okay, I mean, it's your decision. It's not mine. So, because I mean, the end, they're the ones who got to live with the consequence of whatever it is that they, the path that you chose. Even as I'm getting, as I'm doing some of the things that I do now to help people, as I'm, helping them in other ways, looking at their needs and such, with some of the business things that I do on the side. And it's like in my head, I'm like, dude, we all we do is just trying to help you here, and hopefully make your life better. Um, with some of the things that that we do, the services that we provide. And it's like, well, it's like, okay, well, that makes sense. So in the end, even though the numbers don't lie, and as you move forward with them, they're like, no, I'm not gonna, I'm just gonna, I'm like, okay, well, sounds good. Thanks for listening. And, so, go on about yourself, go on about your business. Cause obviously whatever it is that you're doing, in my head, it's like, it's not working, but you can only do so much. I think that, again, as I've gotten older, it's like, I don't know if it's my give a shit factor has gotten, you know, more, less of it. And by doing so, actually, I've been able to get rid of a, taking on any other problems. Because I used to be that guy that my family members would call me, to solve their problems. Oh, this is what's going on, and blah blah. And because you care so much, you put all that time and effort, and you're like, oh my god, yes, definitely, do this, do that, or here, let me solve this, or let me lend you this, let me lend you that. And in the end, I ended up being the one that was stressed. And it wasn't until a close friend of the family, he took me aside, and and like he's like, dude, let me tell you something. If you keep going, giving advice and trying to help people, in the sense that solve people's problems, you're the one who's gonna end up being burnt and frustrated in the long run. And I was like, no, what do you mean? And it's like, I'm telling you, it and it did. One day, many years ago, I was helping two of them out, family member, and it just kind of blew up in my face, in the sense where I ended up being the bad guy and the asshole, of the entire situation, when all I could have just said, hey, look, I'm sorry you're going through this. You'll get through it. You'll figure it out. Blah blah blah. And and let it be, because everything is temporary. Bad times are temporary. Mental, mental stress is temporary. Yes, it may last a month, and as I touched on other shows, it may last 1 month, 2 months, 6 months, a year, a couple of years, but everything is temporary. You know, we all get through it, and we get by is the bottom line. And that which doesn't kill you makes you stronger. In the end, it just makes you more resilient. So, I've again, it was just a lesson for me. After that, I was like, nope, pretty much. Damn, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to hear you're going through that. Is my go-to answer. Man, that sucks. I'm sorry you're going through that. And I just leave it as that. I don't open the door. Again, it's, well, what would you do based on your experience? And that's where well, this is what I would do. I don't know what you would do, or I would just kind of throw that disclaimer, is what I'm saying. So, but when it comes to lending people money and that type of that's a whole different, other story. And I've been in that situation. And again, in the end, you're the one. If you're not, as my buddy Dan, who's been on the show, and we've talked, him and I have talked about this, on the side, is that if you're not willing to, when it comes to lending money and helping people out, if you're not willing to really let go of that money and forget about it, don't do it, because it's just, you're gonna end up super pissed and super frustrated, and you'll probably lose either friendships or cut ties with that family member and such. So, you know it kind of ties in together, you know but yeah, it's a difficult situation. Another thing is also, we this week has been kind of weird. where I reconnected with some friend. We had a situation at work the other day where an individual collapsed, and you know, they collapsed at at the workplace, and we're like, oh my god. We found out later on that there were just some underlying things that had happened before, and the individual came to work anyways. But when it comes to our health, we tend to in this line of work, you run into a lot where people dismiss, oh, how they're feeling, their medical issues, and we just kind of like, oh no, I'm okay. No, I don't want to go to the doctor, or the job necessity. Well, I need to go to work. I can't take off. And again, another harsh lesson that I've learned over the years as I've gotten older, and my underlying issues from the military have come back, is that you know there's a saying in Spanish that goes, "Con la salud no se juega." You don't mess with your health, and our body keeps tabs. Is the bottom line. So the point I'm trying to make with that is, look, nothing, absolutely nothing in life when it comes to work or anything else is worth your health. If you're, there's a reason why. Again, things that I've realized as I've gotten older. Uh, there's a reason why your company, you pay for medical insurance at your company, or there's a reason. Those of us who are retirees, or if you get help from the VA, hey, look, there's a reason why. One, you've earned it through TRICARE, whether you did 20 years, 20 plus years, or you're able to tap into the VA. Regardless of what your opinion is about the VA, it's still medical. It's still medical aid that you're covered. So, excuse me, take advantage of that shit and go get seen, and see what the diagnosis is, and get taken care of, because absolutely nothing in life, not your health, not your, if God forbid, if a family member is telling you, oh well, you don't need to go to the doctor, they're fucked up, and you need to just cut that tie, cut that person off, and move the fuck on, regardless of who they are, and how, blood or not, or whatever. But absolutely nothing is worth your life that you dismiss it in a way, especially if you have whether it's through work and the other things that I've already mentioned. Go get seen and get taken care of, because while death and taxes are the two guaranteed things in life that are going to happen to us, because you always got to pay taxes every year, and we're all going to go someday, as macabre as that sounds. uh you want to prolong you being here, in life, for your, not only for yourself but for your loved one. I think that is your primary duty. See your kids grow and develop, and and I'm sure your family want you to stick around. You get the point. Is that if help is out there, where people are, and sometimes people offer for help, and you're crying out like, oh shit, I need help, and we do this kind of passive aggressive asking for help, and we're hoping that somebody helps us out. God damn it, take it when help is offered. And now if you're asking for money, and make sure you pay that shit back. Don't be an asshole, and just keep the person's money, and also do your part and be responsible. But if you're asking for help and somebody offers it, or there's help out there from an organization, take it. you know as a veteran, I think you've earned it if you're asking for assistance from whether it's the VA, Semper, the Semper Fi Fund, even the other organization, like Wounded Warrior, which that's another my opinion on that. But if help is out there and it's being offered, take it. You've earned it. If you can use it, take it as well. And if you need help from us, let us know, because we can point you in the right direction, as far as with other organizations uh, that are out there. So yeah, that's basically what I want to touch on. I just kind of ran into some friends who, reconnect with some friends who were having medical issues, and whether they knew or not, or they dismissed it or not, and the telltale signs were there. Um, you know, I think don't dismiss anything. So what if you're a sick bay commando, as we used to call it in the Marine Corps? go, go get seen, go get taken care of, let's take more preventive measures when it comes to our health. uh, because we don't want, nobody wants to have their chest cracked open, or, God forbid you end up hospitalized with, and for long term, and having to recover for those issues. Or, you have so many issues that when somebody does give you their advice, you go a different direction, and you're burying yourself into more deeper shit than you were in before, if that makes sense. So, anyways, that's kind of, what I wanted to talk about today, and that was the topic of the show. Hopefully that makes sense. Um, and I like to know your thoughts on and comments on the show if you've been placed in a similar situation. So hopefully we can chat about it a little bit more throughout, on the threads of the after the show, and have just a discussion. So, but before we get going, I just want to say that, hey, look, if you've been struggling with ruminating thoughts, life, just things that you feel like you're getting going into that dark path, or burying yourself in that rabbit hole where sometimes we can't come out. Reach out to us. Reach out to the VA, TRICARE, Military One Source, the suicide hotline. But the bottom line is that while doing these 22 push-ups, and hiking, doing a 500-mile hike in a week, whatever, it's in support of veteran suicide. It's all fine and dandy. Nobody here wants another veteran to commit suicide, or service member to be a statistic, if that makes sense, everybody. So reach out to somebody, reach out to me, and let me at least be your sounding voice, and help you talk you off that ledge, because everything is temporary, as I just talked throughout this show. All right. So with that being said, Daisuke, Aistemas, let's just go ahead and end this over here, and I'll see you next week. All right, get some, everybody. I'll see you next week. Take care.